Everyone, welcome back to Chill Talk on a Friday with me, Aaron, and
Ricky.
the man Ricky. We're in person here in the Mourne Mountains again. So thanks for tuning in. Um, Before we get into it, if you can't stick around, you can catch up on Spotify, YouTube, where else? Apple. You can catch up there from tomorrow whenever the live stream finishes. I'll be beavering away to get that uploaded so you've got it for your runs or whatever in the morning. But stick around, we're going to talk about some of what we've been getting up to this
Mm-hmm.
week. So some updates from since the last week's show. And also Cocodona starts next week. We've got a bit to talk about on that. And then we've got some other stuff, what we want to talk about coaching and things. Hopefully we get to that. It's actually a good question somebody sent in, so we're going to dig into that as long as we have the time. So let's kick off with an update on like how things have been going. You're back up in Mourne. What, you're 4 weeks out from your race?
Three.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. After this weekend, it's 3 weeks.
Granite Peaks 80K Irish team Worlds qualifier. So give us a rundown on the past week.
Yeah, so the plan was come up to the Mourns, do a couple of big days back to back to back to back, get a solid week because I want this to be my peak week leading into the last 3 weeks where I start to slightly taper. It won't be a full 3 week taper, but this will be my highest mileage, my highest time on feet, and probably my highest elevation. All credit to you as well for signing me up to a surprise race on Thursday night as well that I knew nothing about until Wednesday evening. So,
We'll come to that. So give us some stats. Like, where are you volume wise? What are you hitting? What are you hitting? What did you hit last week? What are you predicting to hit this week?
yeah. So last week was 154 kilometers with about 5,700 meters of climbing. And this week I'll be closer to that 100 mile, that magic 100 miles. So I'll be like, I think I'll be about 160k with probably 17 hours of training and maybe 6,200, 300 meters of vert. So the big week on a tired body.
That would take me about. Oh well, it's taking you 17 to do that. Okay, so that would take me like an amount I couldn't sustain. I can train 18 hours a week, but that might be like a full 20K and a couple of thousand meters less of vert if I was doing that. So, mad respect. You seem to just be able to handle the load.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I increased the vert and the distance gradually through the training block, and I feel like that just gives me strength and I can push on every week a little bit by little bit. No massive big jumps, no crazy big jumps. I'm not jumping like an extra 30 or 40k a week and an extra 2,000 meters of climbing or 3,000 meters of climbing, because that's a recipe for disaster. You're probably going to get an injury doing something like that. So if you can just build it up gradually, you should be sound. But for anyone that doesn't know, when you come up here to the Mourns and you go for a run, nothing is easy. Everything takes time and everything is just that little bit harder and slower. So you can't get overexcited about, man, that took me forever. That took me so long. That's the Mourns. That's the mountains. And these mountains are big.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed this, but whenever I come back from my run, pulled out the phone, saved, and was doing my Strava, and got another notification from States. You've moved up another place on the wait list, so now you're
Yeah,
19th.
19th, man. 19th.
So
It's happening. It's fucking happening.
what? How far is that? Like 8 weeks away?
It's 8 weeks after this weekend. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, all right. Well, we're getting close. I'm hopeful. Like into the teens now. 19th. It's getting really close because you know starting to get a good feeling about it. It went slow, but we were told, like Chris, our friend over there, he said to us, it can go slow at the start, and then people start to shit themselves, like, oh, I can't do this, and then they don't take their waitlist spot.
Yeah,
So
I also get a great kick out of the times. Like there's certain times where I can see somebody is invited and they don't enter and they decline, and then that's two spots, and that could happen 2 or 3 times because look, that's just the way it works. So I'm like kind of going, oh man, I hope that person declines. I hope that person declines, you know. And then I move up another spot.
Yeah.
And it's like money for jam. It's free, right? Yeah.
Wayne in the chat saying more run and less vert if you get into States.
To be honest with you, like I want to move on to you, right, and ask you about your training. But to answer, that's a good question, right? Because when I get over the States, it'll be very soon after Granite Peaks. So Granite Peaks is 25th of May, right? I fly out to California on the 5th of June. I am going to be trashed after Granite Peaks. And I won't be able to do a massive amount of training between Granite Peaks finishing and Western States starting. So it'll just be kind of just trying to manage, trying not to lose too much fitness, and trying to have the crack over there and enjoy some of those like famous trails and be able to go out and enjoy runs and not be too worried about big days,
The
because
fitness will be there.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
you just got to get used to the climate,
The heat.
shake the travel off, get a feel for the trails, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So the hay will be in the barn, and then you just keep it going and just,
Yeah.
enjoy it maybe.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing I really want to do. I really want to enjoy it. It's like this. It's like I'm training hard at the minute, flat to the mat training. But when I come up here, like I love it up here. I love the training. I love these mountains up here. They're brutally hard, but there's nothing I want to do more than go for like 20k, 25k, 30k run in the mornings. It's incredible. Like
It's like you don't know what you've got until you don't have it. Like, whenever I now, because with not living here and coming back, I used to, like, I was training for CCC and TDS and UTM, first UTMB, all here, and all the other ultras and stuff. And I was like, those European runners have such an advantage, the big long climbs and things. And you know what? The stuff is steep here. Like, you get 400 or 500 meter climbs, and you're getting 20 to 30% grade. You're getting technical grind, you're getting a mix of grind, and you really have to go out of your way. It's harder to find stuff that's not up, down, up, down.
I'm telling you, if anyone ever says to me that they cannot train for UTMB or any of these races in Ireland, back of the hand. Back of the hand, because if you come up here, it'll tighten you. This will get you ready for any race. There's like Granite Peaks is going to happen in a couple of weeks, and I'm afraid of the race. I'm kind of scared of the race because I've been on the course so much. I've seen how gnarly the trails are. It's Ireland's version of TDS. I think it's very, very similar, very, very close.
Drop some stats about it for the viewers so just they know what this is like.
Yeah, so Granite Peaks is 82k, 5,200 meters of climbing.
But the first 30k has not that much gain, like what?
1,000 meters.
Yeah, so the
1,000 meters.
first 30 is super fast, runnable kind of forest tracks, and then it goes into the mountains and does the mountain circuit. And for anyone that doesn't know the Mournes, like a 50k in the Mournes is fucking brutal. Like for me, doing 50k in the Mournes, that would have been like a 10-hour training day. Like too much to train. Like 40k in the Mournes was the most I ever used to do, because that was you going out and doing like 7-8 hours, 4,000 meters of vert.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a tough race.
Yeah, I think that's, look, like one of my biggest days there 2 weeks ago up here. I ran 42k, so only a marathon. There was 3,200 meters of climbing in it, and it took me 6 hours, 15 minutes. It's a crazy amount of time to be out for that distance, like, but it's just different up here. It's different.
So I know you're dying to ask me questions, but don't ask me too many. But before we get there, yesterday, 21k in the mountains, Donard, the tallest mountain in the range, Brandy Pad, the main trail through the mountains, and how many meters of vert? 1,500 or
50? I think 1,300 meters of climbing yesterday. Yeah.
And then we went out last night and we did an uphill only race, 3.5k, 5,000 or 550 meters of vert, all uphill on Sleep Binion, part of the Hill and Dale series here that runs Thursdays in spring. That was really good fun, right?
Super fun. I see Matty O'Connell has joined the chat as well, and Matty ran that race last night as well. He was actually second. He had a fantastic race, and I was so nervous about this race. You signed me up for it. I hadn't a clue what was going on. You said, I signed you up for a Hill Days race there. And I said, oh, what do you mean you signed me up? And he
Actually, what I said was, what time are you up on Thursday? Because I've entered you into an uphill race.
Yeah, and I was really nervous about it because, like, it's totally out of my wheelhouse. Like, it's 3.5K straight up a mountain. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, and also against some very, very fast young guys, like young guns. You know what I mean? These lads are up and coming. They're rocket ships. And I was like, I'm going running 21 or 22K. I was actually planning on running 30K, but then I knew I had to do the race. So I was like, I need to have some legs. But I gotta say, like, it was savage crack. It was one of the coolest things I ever did, and it was tons of fun. And it was great that the two of us got to do it together as well. Like,
Well, I wouldn't say together. we did the warm up together, we did the cool down together,
yeah,
and we started the race together. But then you finished. What was it? Was
eight,
it? Are you sure it was 8?
yeah,
It was definitely 8.
yeah.
Was it not 7? 7.5.
7.5,
So
yeah, 7.5.
it's important
yeah.
because I did say to Ricky, you better not finish 10 minutes quicker than me.
Mm.
That would be unacceptable for me. Like, but I was happy enough with my run. I ran that race last 12 years ago, and my time was 35 minutes then, and it was 800 meters shorter on a slightly different route with the same vert. So there was more, there was more sort of, you're kind of running on your toes last night compared to the previous route where there was a lot more maybe hands on knees kind of hiking.
Yeah.
But look, I enjoyed it. It was good. It was a good run.
And also, like, for anyone that doesn't know, it was Thursday night, right? It was a Thursday night, and there was nearly
382 people.
382 people. It was crazy, so it was. Like, I remember just standing on the top, finished, and I looking back down, and you could see for nearly 2K back, and it was just this little wave of people coming up. It was super cool. There was a savage buzz, great atmosphere around it. It was deadly. It was deadly.
Yeah, we've got some pictures up on Instagram. They'll still be up at this point. So check them out. And you dropped a little reel earlier on today that James Miller videoed. So that was you near the top in rare hiking form.
Yeah.
But the cadence was good.
Not bad, yeah. Like somebody said to me, it's not often we see you walking up a hill, and I says, yeah, but
it was hiking.
It's vertical. It was literally vertical. Like, you know, there ain't much running on that kind of thing. There was a good bit of running before it though, and look, I was super happy with it. I ran 21K the morning of that race, and then I was able to like manage myself really well throughout that race. Got to the top. Thought it was brilliant, had so much fun, and still managed to get out for, I think, 27K today. So that's money in the bank, winning in life.
Yes, and you've got a couple more big days ahead, right? In Mourne.
Yeah, another big one tomorrow. 30K on the Granite Peaks route with James Miller tomorrow. And then I go home tomorrow, unfortunately. Well, fortunately to my wife, obviously.
Trina's not listening, so.
Yeah. But go home to my wife, and Sunday I'll run local and maybe do 30K. That'll round it off to about 160K with 6,000 something meters climbing. Big week.
Big. All right, what have we got? Binion with covered Binion. I'm away tomorrow. This is my last day in Mourne. Yeah. Cheerio until, I don't know. I might come back in September for a little visit. Otherwise, it'll be Christmas. You know, I might visit before the next time I'm back in Europe. But so I start the trip to Sydney for Ultra Trail Australia tomorrow night via Peak District, London, Chamonix, Geneva, Qatar, Sydney, in the space of 4 days. So I've got about 2,000 kilometers to drive. It's more than 2,000 kilometers. I've got about 20 hours to drive, and I've got about 24 hours in planes today. But
you're racing In how many days?
2 weeks today.
Yeah.
So actually, Australia is 10, 11 hours ahead. So I'll already be, I'll be nearly finished. I'll be
Yeah.
coming up to the finish, maybe. Maybe. So, yeah. I don't know.
How are you feeling about the travel and then the race?
I'm worried more about the dogs, the dogs traveling in Australia, than actually worried about the race. Look, it's 163k, it's 7,000 meters of vert. On paper, it's the most runnable, easiest 100 miler, shortest 100 miler I've done as well. So, like, we were talking about the pacing and stuff last night, and I brought it up in Ultra Pacer, and you put in, your drop bags and all this type of stuff and figuring out pacing and things. And it's probably like a 26 plus hour effort, which is, at least 8 hours shorter than a UTMB.
Yeah.
Easy. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to going and experiencing it. It's the unknowns that the brain starts to kind of, annoy you about and worry. Where am I going to sleep the night before the race? What are the Blue Mountains going to be like? How humid is it going to be down in the valley? All of these types of things. Will I see any snakes? Will my million gels and sports powders make it through customs?
Yeah, you, there's a lot logistically between now and the race with all your travel and everything, with getting stuff over there for the race. There is a lot of things that go wrong, but look, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll all work out. I think you've got a good training block in. I'm sure, look, we always want more in a training block, right? But I think you've done as well as you can for as long as you can. And now it's nearly time to race.
I think last week and this week has been enough to give me confidence that, okay, I think I've done enough. I went out today and just did like 95 minutes, and it didn't even feel that race in the legs. And it just felt like every other day that I'd go out and do an aerobic kind of run. I've got a long run tomorrow, but the long run's now down because we're, a week into the taper. So the long run's down to 2.5 hours with effort on the uphills. So that'll be fun,
Yeah.
shorter, a bit more range to play with as well. I'm still figuring out gear, as in shoes. So that's one that's a wee bit annoying. Thinking about the foot issue. So look, still some things to iron out, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's a fucking day out
Yeah.
in a new place.
Look, I love the way you look at it. Like, we'll say, if you said to me, you've got to run for 26 hours, I think I'd have a little bit of a heart attack or a meltdown. It's like my brain finds it hard to imagine running. Because, look, I haven't done that many 100-mile races, and most of my races, all right, I did TDS and that went on for 23 hours. But usually my races are done in like 13 or 14 hours, or maybe 10 or 11 hours, You're kind of just talking about 26 hours. Like, Ash, it's just a day. It's just a day. And I know it is just a day. And if you do look at it like that and you break it down like that and you have the experience, then it'll be no problem.
So much of it comes down to experience. Whenever I do these races, I think about, like, the race starts at 5 a.m. So you just break it up. Like, people say about breaking it up into aid stations and things like that. But a really simple way to do it is, you start in the morning. What about getting past lunchtime?
Yeah.
What about getting through the day into darkness? Then you're getting through the night. Jesus. Well, whenever you're through the night, that's 24 hours.
Yeah.
And if this is only going to take 26, and if it goes to hell, like another 3-4 hours onto that, like, it's not that long whenever you break it down into like 4 chunks or 5 chunks. And also, there's quite a lot of aid stations in this. So I was seeing aid stations at like 10 and 15k apart, with maybe like 300 to 600 meters a gain. And that's like, each one of those is just like a nice wee run.
Yeah. Yeah.
So look, it's a state of mind. So look, end of the training update. Last run for me tomorrow in morn before the journey begins. And yeah, we'll get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a sad day. It's a sad day.
It's a fucking good day. This time next week, the travel will be over. I will have arrived in Sydney next Friday evening, their time.
Yeah.
So, I will actually still be available next Friday night, UK time, for our live show.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to it. Look, gotta move on.
Yeah.
Something big starting next week. Cocodona.
Yeah.
It'll be a busy one for everyone, skiving off of work, watching the live stream, all week. That's what people do. Like, people don't work anymore. They sit at home, work from home, and they watch the live stream and they walk their dogs and they have nice lunches. They're not like you up on a roof
Mm.
whacking tiles in and stuff. Will you be on the doing the live
I
stream?
won't be on the live stream. I won't be on the live stream. No, no. I'll be just checking in. I'll be checking in as much as I can, and probably getting information from you, probably, or the WhatsApp trail talk group. They'll be chiming in, definitely.
That'll be on fire,
Yeah.
and I will probably have to struggle on some of the admin duties to keep people in the right lane.
Yeah, and it was actually on fire because you asked a question about Cocodona today and to see what the hype was like, and there was lots of hype around Cocodona in the group chat.
Well, why don't we tackle some of the questions? So a couple of people dropped in some questions, and we've got some of them. So we'll tackle some questions, and then will we do some kind of predictions, or we don't need like fantasy picks, but we can maybe base some of our conversation around that. So one of the questions was, how do you think Dan Green and Ryan Sands will do? Experienced 100 miners, but new to the 200s. So what about Dan Green?
Yeah, like
Who, by the way, he was in the chat a minute ago. I don't know if he's still here. Dan, you're a flying machine. Go for it.
Yeah.
On you go.
To be honest, with Dan Green, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure with Dan. But with Ryan Sands, for me, he's one of my favourites for the race. I'm a big fan of Ryan. I think he's got so much experience. He's around the game a long time. Okay, he hasn't done that many of these kind of races, but he has done a lot of like epic adventures where, he's done like 4, 5, 6 days trekking and running and fast packing. So I definitely think that he's going to be in the mix, right? He's definitely going to be in the mix for my top 5. So I'm excited to see how Ryan gets on. But you just never know. You never know in this kind of a race, the heat that they'll be in under and the pressure and all that sort of stuff. So you just never really know.
Yeah, and Ryan Sands. Let me get my take on Ryan Sands. Ryan seems like a great guy, and he's done a lot in the sport. But I just feel like I'm so over Ryan Sands because of how many times he DNF'd UTMB, and the next year, every year, he was still saying, you know, I had a bad race. I know what went wrong. And then he had another bad race. And then the next year he said the same thing. And then he had another bad race. And he must have like 4 or 5 DNFs or more at UTMB.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And like, to not it just felt like he wasn't seeing what was happening and not recognizing what the problem was. And it felt like maybe it was something more fundamental that, hey, maybe I'm not at the level of those guys who are top 5 at UTMB and I'm trying to be. And that's fucking blowing the wheels off me. And then I can't finish because I'm spent. So I'm not a big Ryan Sands fan in terms of his race execution, but he does seem like a solid guy, and he's done some cool stuff, like some of the FKTs and like the FKT and the Drakensberg Traverse in South Africa, and he did like a trek thing in Nepal as well, which was pretty cool. So like he's a solid guy, but he's not in my picks.
See, the issue I have with him in this race is like he was one of the best runners in the world at one time, right? And he's won Western States, in a very competitive year, in a very good time. And since then, it's been a sort of a downward spiral, right? Went to UTMB, DNF'd a ton of times.
He had UTMB DNFs before that Western States. The Western States victory, which was as you say, a great time, but it was almost like an outlier in the decline.
Yeah. And what I feel with this race is this is the kind of race where I think Ryan Sands is sort of saying, is there one more in me? Do you know, that distance, like the 100k, the 100-mile distance, I can't keep up with those guys now because the sport has evolved so much and it's just got so fast and he can't keep up with them. And then is he kind of saying, you know what, Cocodona's there. The level of athletes in Cocodona that would say, I'm not saying,
Say it.
yeah, it's not the same as UTMB or Western States, right? It's not. Like there's only a handful of very, very good athletes lining up in Cocodona every year, whereas in UTMB and Western States and races like that, do you know what I mean? The top 100 or 150 guys and women in that race are all very, very fast, very elite.
It's not it's not controversial. Look at the UTMB index scores of the top 50 people in UTMB, top 50 finishers, and then compare them to the UTMB index score of the top 50, the top 10, the top 5. Like, I would say Cocodona is probably 5 deep.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like, it doesn't devalue it.
No,
Nothing has to be a UTMB equivalent. That's at a very, very high bar to measure anything against. And there's only a couple of other races that you can really compare to it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not fair. It is the premier 200-mile race in North America, and it's probably got the most eyeballs on it overall. Like,
yeah,
you know, even above Tour, like Tour with the way that is presented and covered, it doesn't have people sitting with their, you know, with their feet up when they're working from home watching the YouTube live stream with personalities and people that we know kind of chatting and hyping up the race and stuff. So it's just a different thing. Will we move on to another question?
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we do that, support our sponsor, XMiles.co.uk. Discount code Iron Over Mountains gets you, 10% off or something. But they do everything. They do gear, compressed sport,
yeah.
Torque Nutrition, Vanilla Pod drink mix is the best. And it kicks us a few quid, and we appreciate it. So support XMiles, and that supports us. Next question: return of Jesse Haynes. Can the old boy hang with the young'uns?
No. No, I don't think so. Yeah. He's definitely not in my top 5 picks. Very cool to see him back. Super cool. Like, the man is vibes. But no, no, for me, he's not going to be up in the top 5 anyway.
That was a very short hot take, and I see Tom has joined the live. Tom, the winner of last night's uphill binion race. So congratulations, Tom. So Jesse Haynes, he was actually second or third the year I did Bigfoot 200. So I have met Jesse. He's a great guy and a nice. He's like that SoCal runner. He's very good at a certain type of thing, but he's been around for a long time. And, we've heard Max Jolliffe say that he was one of his inspirations. And, whenever he saw him at Moab and along those sort of lines. So yeah, I think you're right. He's not going to cut it at the front of the race, but he's going to be there. He's probably going to have a consistent race, and he's going to finish top 10, but I don't have him in my top 5, but that's probably a result of some of the other people that are there. Another year, he could probably be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next one. Does Courtney compete for the outright win? And can Sarah or the other women keep her honest?
I'd be as straightforward as my last answer, and that would be definitely she'll be going I'm not saying she'll be going for the win, but she's definitely capable of winning the overall race.
Who?
Courtney,
right?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if Courtney will be like, yeah, I'm going to go for the overall. I think Courtney will run her own race, but Courtney's own race could win the overall race. I'm actually going to say that I really feel that Courtney's probably going to finish in the top 3 overall in this race this year. And I don't believe that any of the women are going to keep her honest.
like if you think of the other women that Courtney will be competing against, forgetting about the overall position in the race, you know, we've got Micah Thews, who is like a 200-mile legend in America, but I have her on my podium in the
Yeah.
women's race. And all you have to do to put it into perspective is, how do you think Micah would do against Courtney at UTMB?
See,
Be like a different race.
yeah, I was going to say, use that exact same example, because that's the kind of arsenal that Courtney has.
Different caliber.
Yeah. Like, she can do this 250-mile race, and she can do UTMB, and she can do UTMB very fast against very, very good athletes. And she can also do the 250-mile against very fast men and women. So for Mika to try to take it to Courtney, I don't know what she'd have to do, because Courtney would always have an answer. You know, if Mika tried to turn the screw, it wouldn't matter. Courtney would just, whatever. I'm going to do what I'm going to do and annihilate you. Unfortunately, I just think that's the caliber of Courtney Dauwalter.
Look, we don't know what the secret sauce is, but she has just that ability to just do it and beat all, you know, any and all runners, men included.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we have to think that Courtney is in a shout for the overall victory, because, like, even if we just take someone like Max Joliffe, who again I have predicted in my male podium, how do you think Courtney would have beat Max at TDS this year? Max was one place ahead of you.
Yeah. So Max was one place ahead of me.
Courtney would beat you.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So she probably beat Max.
Yeah. He was one spot ahead of me, one spot ahead of me in TDS, and I like Max. I'm a big fan of Max, and if I knew he was only one spot ahead of me, I'd have tried to chase him down. But I do believe that Courtney would beat Max at TDS, and I believe, yes, she would beat me at TDS, because she's a beast. Like,
I wonder, could I cut a reel from you saying that? I might try. Yeah. So no, I think good question. I don't think any of the women can keep Courtney honest. I think Courtney's going to go out there. She'll have a strategy to just go out and run her race, knowing that if she executes, that she will absolutely slay the course.
Yeah.
And I don't even think she'll be thinking about. She'll not be thinking, I want to race the first. I'm racing this person, that person. She's going to be thinking, I might be able to do this in 60 hours. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. And if I have a good day, if everything goes close enough to plan, maybe it'll work. So I think she just focused on herself, which is an absolute superpower in ultra running. If you can just run your own race and execute, it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter what anyone else does.
I think it's the only way to race these kind of races. You can't be worried about somebody else, like in this kind of a distance. You know, I don't think it's something like 200 miles or over that. It's insane to be worried about somebody else in that race for that amount of time, and a million things that can go right and a million things that can go wrong. So you have to just zone in on yourself, zone in on your crew, and try and stay as positive and as upbeat as you can. And we all know that Courtney is the queen of having a smile on her face, staying positive, and always looking at the bright side.
Yeah, and the next question, actually, it's very well connected to what Tom has said in the chat. Fingers crossed Aravipa get the shitters right. Obviously, pulling inspiration from the Arizona Monster 300, same state, probably different state of toilets.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think the Aravipa are going to have the toilet game?
I saw something, I don't know where I saw it lately, on Instagram or on socials, about mandatory kit, and like a toilet being part of the mandatory kit in these kind of races.
Is it a toilet or a bucket?
Yeah, it's like, oh well, you need to have waterproof jacket, waterproof trousers, and a bucket. You know, like that could happen. That could happen. So I really hope it's not a complete shit show like Arizona 300.
I'm sure it won't. Like, that race is just so well organized and so well promoted, and it's just like it's a jewel in the crown now of Aravipa. Like,
Aravipa do a good job. They do a really good job. Have been doing a really good job for years. You know what I mean? Like, and they've been very, very good for trail running and bringing it to the masses for years.
A good steward of the sport in North America,
Yeah.
for sure. And given the threat of legal action from Destination Trail, I guess that the next time I do a 200 miler in North America, it's probably going to be Cocodona 250 because it can't be one of the other main ones. So, look, let me hit you with some numbers on course records, and then we'll talk about some of the other players and what the potential is on that. So, Annie Hughes has the record of 71.10 and String being 59.28 from 2022. But I did hear on another podcast that the Sarah Ostaszewski's time from 2023 is more recognised. I guess maybe there must have been some course change, and that's a 72.50. Let me drop it. Let me just drop it. Courtney is 10 hours at least better than Sarah.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
So I'm saying a close to 60-hour time for Courtney.
Yeah. Between 60 and, I think between 60 and if she has a really bad day, like if she has a good day, she's between 60 and a bad day, 65. I'm thinking those kind of times. Yeah,
Yep.
but miles ahead of course record pace. Miles ahead.
I don't think we can allow you to have a 5-hour range. There's just too much of a scope for you to weasel out of accepting
Yeah,
this.
but I'm just going to say, like, she's definitely smashing course record, like smashing it. That has nothing to do with that record there. Irrelevant to Courtney Dauwalter. That's irrelevant. She's looking at course record time, like overall course.
So give me a prediction. I'm saying 60 to 62.
I'm saying 61:20, and you can record this. And you can do a reel on this after it's done.
Well, I mean, your predictions aren't too good because I was second at Madeira in the fantasy league, and you forgot to play it. And then I was first at Canyons 100k in fantasy, and you were 10th. So once again, I beat Ricky Wynn.
It's not my strong point. It's not my strong point, you know. It's like uphill races, you know. It's not really in my wheelhouse.
All right. What about Jack Scott, Innovate athlete, winter spine, course record holder? How do you think he's going to go?
Well, if you can find him on the Fantasy Free Trail list of runners, he's at the very bottom. He's like about 3 from the bottom.
As were you for the uphill race.
Yeah.
You were the last in the list.
Last name, yeah. So for anyone that hasn't clicked on Jack Scott, it's probably because you didn't find him or know he was racing this. But Jack will go very well. I'm excited to see how Jack will go. If and I do believe that he's like done a lot of heat training. He's been doing it. You were telling me he's been doing it in a lab. He's been checking all the boxes, dotting the T's, crossing the I's, dotting the T's. He is doing everything right, and I think Jack Scott could pull off something special at Cocodona.
So Stringbean's record of 59.28. Do you think Jack can threaten that? Like the man, his superpower was, if people maybe don't remember this or aren't just as plugged in, he didn't sleep, I don't believe, during the spine. And he basically had the face to show it for about 6 months after the race. He just looked absolutely destroyed. So I think the ability to deal with sleep deprivation is one of the key qualities to do well in 200 milers. So
a good stat, a good bit of information for you was the year he won the spine, right? I was at the running show over in the UK, and he was on stage, like giving an interview about the spine. It's just 3 days after he won it, and there was people still racing the spine. Like, it was mental, the speed that he ran that racing, like, you know. So he is the real deal, like, and he can go hard for a very long time on very little sleep. And if he can do that in Cocodona, he'll go very, very well.
So he ran 73 hours for the spine with no sleep.
Yeah.
That's pretty, and it's 270 miles.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the spine. It's awful. I think Cocodona would be like going on holidays for him.
Yeah, you're not going to have to, you're not going to overwork all of the
No.
stabilizer muscles because of the muck and,
And all the gear you have to carry in the spine. It'd be like he's on the beach
well,
over in Cocodona.
he might be carrying about 6 kilos of water.
Yeah. Yeah. True. True.
But also another thing about Cocodona this year, it's scheduled to have very cool weather. So like 60-degree Fahrenheit, which for us is like a teen, I
Yeah.
think. So, I mean, teens is nice running weather, to be fair. So that's another consideration. You
For a
know,
course record too. Like.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think Jack takes the win? Where do you place him?
I have Jack for the win. In my picks, I have Jack for the win. Yeah. Yeah.
Throw some other knowledge out here. Now, I don't want to fix down on your picks because honestly, I haven't even finalised mine at this point. But what are your other thoughts on the men's field? Who do you think is going to be a contender? Who do you think has the potential to beat Courtney in the overall? Just give me some of that stuff.
So again, I'm going to say Jack is my overall winner, right? I think Jack is overall winner. I'm saying
Is that European bias?
probably, yeah, yeah. But and then I'm saying Harry is second, right? So Haraldus, but we call him Harry, right? And I'm saying Harry is my second, and then I have Courtney as my third overall. But in men, I have third. Who did I put third in men? Who did I think? It was either Max Jolie or Ryan Sands I had for third.
So last year, Harry ran 59.50 for Cocodona, which is faster than I think Courtney would run.
Yeah.
So, and he didn't have I don't think he had a faultless performance. So, he come up and passed Jeff near the end.
Yeah.
Like he was moving and kind of, you would say maybe Jeff lost the race.
Yeah.
And Harry was just there to take it. So, yeah, maybe if Jack and Harry had, executed well, Courtney would be third on the podium potentially. Is that maybe your prediction of yours?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah, I just think if they have the days right, I just think that their leg speed, their running ability is just stronger than Courtney's. Right, that's what I'm saying. And if they have good days, I don't see Courtney. Like I'm saying, Courtney's coming in with a 61.20, right?
61. I love 60. You should have said 61.21. Like really hammer it down.
But I see the other lads probably going, maybe 2 hours faster. At least 2 hours faster. So I just don't think she'll break the 60 hours. So that's why I'm putting her in third overall. First female, obviously, third overall.
Okay, all right. Anything else on Cocodona?
For Stig? What do you think?
I think he has the potential, like Mike Versteeg, what did he run it in? He ran 65. So yeah. I think I could see him in my top five.
Yeah.
He has said in the Distance to Empty podcast in association with Aravipa that he wants to try and run a fast race this year, and he'll see after day one. So that has the potential to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Or it has the potential to go really well for him.
Yeah.
So I also would have thought that if it was a hotter year, it may have suited him more with being so familiar with training in Arizona his whole life. So I'm not sure,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, like for me, he's my fifth pick in men's. I am coming fifth male, and yeah, it depends on how he approaches the race. Like if he is going to do that, and like it's a funny kind of a tactic. Yeah, after the first day, I'll know where I'm at. So what? Blow the doors off and then just go home. Is it? Is that the idea, or just suffer it out for the next couple of days? I don't know. Like,
He can literally just walk off course.
yeah, yeah.
Like he runs past where he
Yeah,
lives,
go
so
home.
he can literally just he could go into his own
Yeah.
bed for a sleep. Actually, he can't unless it's at an aid station,
Yeah.
or it's he exits at an aid station.
But he's one to watch, and he's a cool dude, and I like him, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
I like listening to anything he says. He's an interesting person, and those people have to be cherished in the sport because they are what keeps ultra running weird.
Yeah.
You know, if we can't all be, not we can't all be, but like imagine if everyone was like Hayden Hawks. Hayden Hawks and Michael Versteeg are the yin and yang of ultra running, the two polar opposites. But look, I think we've probably come to time. We've run over our normal time, so we'll park the coaching question.
Yeah.
I know it's a good one, but I think it also deserves a proper conversation.
Yeah.
And it's dinner time here.
Yeah, but that's our problem. It's like we say we're going to talk about this, and this, and we end up talking about one or two things because the one or two things we're talking about like have us interested and look, we all love the sport, right?
Look, we like to run and we
Yeah.
like to talk about running, and we haven't run out of either of those things ever. So I don't think we're always gonna have stuff left on the table at the end of the
Yeah.
show. But look, thanks for tuning in. You can catch up on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Check out our sponsors, XMiles.co.uk. Use the code IRunOverMountains for a 10% discount. And yeah, have a great weekend.
And I'm going to have a lovely cup of tea in my new mug, my new Hill and Dale's
Your Hill and
mug.
Dale mug.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. All right. Everyone, have a great weekend. Peace.